This is for pre-calculus. What's my sine cosine lab? Number 3. So this one right here is a trig function, but what makes this one a little bit different is that I have a subtraction inside the parentheses. Now I know if I add or subtract outside the parentheses, that's going to be my midline. So I know y equals 0 is my midline because there's nothing here. I know my amplitude is 4. My frequency is whatever's in front of the variable, so it's a 1. My period is 2 pi over 1 or 2 pi. So that part's easy. So what I want to spend some time here is talking about phase shift and horizontal shift. Well, phase shift and horizontal shift in this case are both the same because I can look at this, and because there's a frequency of 1, I can look at this and say, okay, this graph has been shifted to the right pi over 4. And because my frequency is 1, my phase shift is pi over 4, and so is my horizontal shift. We will do some where, because my frequency is going to be different, that I'll show you that it's different. So this is the best way to graph shifts without a calculator. So the first thing is we're going to graph this like there is no shift at all, and then we're going to shift it when it's done. So we're going to do everything that we've done previously. I'm going to take my period, divide it by 4, and that's how I'm going to tell how I'm going to count, which is going to be pi over 2. I'm going to set up my table of x, y. I'm going to start at 0, pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 4 pi over 2. And I reduced it as I went along. Now, because this function was cosine, I know that cosine starts high, and I have to look at my amplitude. So I know this is going to start out at 0, 4, because cosine starts at that. So it's 0, 4. Then I'm going to come down to my x-axis because it's y equals 0 is my midline. I'm going to go down to negative 4, come back up to 0, and back up. I'm going to end up at top. So remember that because cosine starts high. So I know this is going to come up to 4. Here's my 0. It's going to come down to 0. So you can kind of look at how it works, and it comes to negative 4. So you can kind of know that's how my table is going to look. Now, the only thing different than normal, because I am going to count up to 2 pi using pi over 2, but because this has been shifted pi over 4, which is half of pi over 2, I'm going to count by pi over 4s this time, and we will still graph this. So don't worry, we'll still use what we did. So I know y equals 0 is my center. So I'm going to put this here. So that's nice. It's right in the center. And I'm going to get this set up. So I'm knowing it goes up to 4 and negative 4. So I'm just going to every 2. So let me undo that. Every 2, there's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so every 2 is going to be 1. So here's negative 1 and here's 1, and I'm going to count up. Now I'm going to count by pi over 4. So I'm going to every 2's do pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, which is pi over 2, 3 pi over 4, 4 pi over 4, which is pi, 5 pi over 4, 6 pi over 4, which is 3 pi over 2, 7 pi over 4, 8 pi over 4, which is 2 pi, 9 pi over 4. Because I'm counting by pi over 4, so the shift will be easy because I know I have to shift. So now I'm going to use the points that I did and actually graph this original. And I'm going to kind of do it in lightly in yellow here. So you're going to see it, but so here it is 0, 4. Then at pi over 2, it comes down to 0. Then at pi, it comes down to negative 4. At 3 pi over 2, back up to 0. And at 2 pi, back up to 4. So when I sketch this, this would be my graph. Whoops, sorry. Let me try that again. This would be my graph if I, one more time, I keep hitting it. This would be my graph if I did not shift. There we go. Okay, that is not my graph. This graph said, I want you to graph 4 cosine of this function t, but I want you to shift it to the right, because remember, all the shifts inside are opposite, so I know I'm going to shift it to the right, pi over 4. So what I'm going to do is actually take these points I just graphed, and I'm going to shift them over to pi over 4. shift over, okay? Let me erase this. I must have hit it. Okay, I'm going to shift over, shift over, shift over. Now this is one curve shifted of this graph. And it should be a little smoother there, but I hope you get the idea. So I just showed you how to do a shift. That I didn't even graph it on my calculator, but I just shifted over and I counted it so I could shift. Okay. Let's look at the next one. Here I have 4 minus sine t. This one does not have any shifts in it, but what's weird in this one is they put the midline up front. So I'm really going to call this a plus 4. And because this is negative, it's been inverted. So I know when I graph this, because sine starts at midline, and I know y equals 0 is the middle, it's gonna start in the middle and it's gonna come down and then up. Okay. So my amplitude is a positive one. The negative just shows it's been inverted. My frequency is 1. My period is 2 pi over 1, or 2 pi. My midline is going to be y equals 4. So this makes a difference where I put the middle of the graph. There is no phase shift or horizontal shift because I'm not adding or subtracting inside the parentheses. Okay, so what I did to set up with this is, first of all, let's kind of do all our work with our table. My period's 2 pi, so I'm going to divide it by 4. So I'm going to count by pi over 2. All right, now this one, I want you to think about it a little bit before we do this. Sine starts at midline. Well, my midline is 4. So I'm going to count 0, pi over 2, 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 4 pi over 2. And because it starts at midline, it's going to start at 4. Amplitude is 1, so it's going to, and it's inverted, so it's going to go down to 3, back up to 4, up to 5, back down to 4. Because remember, the graph is going to come down and then come back up. But because y equals 4 is the middle, and my amplitude's 1, it's going to go down to 3 and up to 5 eventually. So basically, if you know how it's going to look, then you can kind of set up your table. So because I know 4 is in the middle, I'm kind of going to try to drop this down a little bit because 4 is the middle. So here is y equals 0. I'm going to set up this right here. All right. And I'm going to count every 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. That is my middle, so I'm going to kind of do a dotted line here. So that's my middle, okay? Y equals 4, okay? Now I have to count. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4 is pi over 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 is pi. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 3 pi over 2. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 2 pi. All right, so now we're going to sketch our graph. 0, 4, then it's going to come down here to 3, back up to 4, up to 5, and back over to 4. So it kind of looks a little bit flat. And there you go. So here is our 5, and here is our 3. So that's what our graph looks like. So I hope this helps you in graphing. Now I actually graphed these two on my graphing calculator. So this one's 3, the one I did before with the shift. And you can see right here, if you look at it right here, it's been shifted over. And you can tell that this is part of the curve before. So from right here to here is the shifted graph. If I look at my next one, here we are again, and I've changed it so you can see the whole thing where it comes down and then up. That's the end of this video.